Chapter 1. The Unexpected Guest. The sun was barely up when Earl Johnson pulled his old Chevy into the parking lot of the Cozy Spoon, the small family diner in the heart of their neighborhood. Earl, a proud grandfather in his late 60s, with a gentle smile and eyes full of stories, was well known in the community for his warm heart and generosity. Today, he wasn't here for breakfast. No, Earl had a special mission. Earlier that week, he'd heard about a new program the diner was running. Free meals for local seniors who were struggling. Earl had survived tough times himself, and he knew how much a warm meal could lift someone's spirit. So he decided to spread the word, personally handing out flyers and encouraging his neighbors to come in. With a bundle of flyers in his hand and a heart full of hope, Earl entered the diner. The place smelled of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon, the kind of smell that makes you believe everything's going to be all right. He greeted the waitress with a nod, smiling at familiar faces and chatting softly with the cook in the back. Earl's kindness was infectious. He offered to help a frail old lady with her tray, and even gave a $1 tip to a young single mother working her first job behind the counter. The other customers noticed his genuine warmth, and some even waved from their tables. But all that goodwill came to a screeching halt when the restaurant manager, a white man in his early 40s named Tom, noticed Earl lingering near the entrance after dropping off flyers. Tom's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Earl was wearing a worn jacket, his shoes scuffed from years of walking the neighborhood. To Tom, Earl looked out of place, or worse, like trouble. "Sir," Tom called sharply, his voice cutting through the hum of the morning crowd. "You need to leave. Now." Earl blinked, surprised. "I'm just here to spread the word about the meal program." Tom's tone hardened. "I don't care. You're making people uncomfortable. I want you out." Confused and hurt, Earl tried to explain, but Tom was already signaling the security guard. Other customers watched quietly, some exchanging uneasy glances. Earl felt the weight of their silence, like a punch to the gut. As he was escorted out, Earl's voice cracked. "I'm just trying to help." Outside, the cold morning air stung his eyes, but not as much as the sting of rejection. He wondered silently how a man he had never met could judge him so fast, so harshly, just because of how he looked. Earl's family often told him to hold his head high, but this moment felt like a heavy chain around his spirit. He looked back at the diner's windows, the faces inside frozen in awkward silence. The injustice wasn't new, but it still cut deep. After Chapter 1, we've only just begun to scratch the surface of Earl's story. What comes next will reveal even deeper layers of injustice and courage. Stay close. You won't want to miss what happens when Earl faces the storm head-on. Chapter 2. The Fight for Dignity. The word spread fast in the neighborhood. The news about Earl getting kicked out wasn't just a small story. It was a spark. Earl's daughter, Monica, a school teacher with a fierce spirit, heard about it right away. She called her father the moment she could. "Dad, I can't believe they treated you like that. We've got to do something." Earl sighed, still shaking off the morning's pain. "Monica, it's just a diner. Maybe they had their reasons." "No, Dad, this is about something bigger. This is about respect, about the way people see us." Together, they decided to take action. Monica helped Earl record a short video explaining what happened. Earl's voice was steady, but filled with quiet fire. "I'm a grandfather, a part of this community. I'm not a threat. I'm just trying to help." The video went viral in their city, reposted, shared, and discussed across social media platforms. Local activists and community leaders rallied behind Earl, demanding an apology from the diner and an investigation into the incident. Meanwhile, Earl found himself in the middle of a media storm he never asked for. Reporters came knocking, some wanting to paint him as a victim, others trying to spin the story for clicks. It was exhausting, but necessary. Earl had always been a private man, but now he was forced to speak up, not just for himself, but for everyone who had been quietly pushed aside. At the diner, Tom doubled down. He refused to apologize and accused Earl of causing a scene, of making the staff uncomfortable. The security guard, who had seemed indifferent at first, now felt the weight of public scrutiny, and whispers started about racial profiling. The tension grew. Earl's family began receiving angry calls, some even hateful messages from strangers who didn't want to see a black man stand up. Earl's granddaughter, just 10 years old, asked why people were so angry with her grandpa. That broke Earl's heart harder than any insult. "Sweetheart," Earl said softly, "some folks are scared of what they don't understand." But Earl was no longer willing to stay silent. He started attending community meetings, joining protests, and speaking on local radio shows. His message was clear: dignity and respect are not privileges, they are rights. Despite the rising tension, Earl's spirit grew stronger. He found allies in unexpected places: a white police officer who listened to his story, a restaurant owner who offered to host a fundraiser for senior meal programs, neighbors who stood by his side. But the battle was far from over. Tom's refusal to admit fault kept the fire burning, and the restaurant chain's corporate office began their own investigation, worried about the growing backlash. After Chapter 2, we're standing on the edge of something huge. Earl's fight is about to change everything, but the cost will be more than anyone expected. Don't miss what happens next. Chapter 3, Justice Served or Justice Denied. Weeks passed, and the tension hadn't let up. The diner's board finally called for a public hearing to address the incident. Earl prepared himself mentally, knowing this was his chance to expose the injustice, but also bracing for more hostility. The day of the hearing, the room was packed. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled notes, and community members crowded in, all eyes on Earl. Tom sat stiffly at the front, avoiding eye contact. The diner's lawyers spoke in rehearsed tones, trying to downplay the incident as a misunderstanding. But Earl's testimony was raw and real. He spoke of his decades of hard work, his role as a family man and community elder. He described the moment he was kicked out, how that felt like being erased, humiliated for simply existing. "Mr. Johnson, we regret how you felt," said one board member, "but our staff must ensure the comfort of all our patrons." Earl shook his head slowly. "So your comfort means I don't belong? Because of my skin? Because I'm old and tired?" The room fell silent. Then something unexpected happened. One of the waitresses who had witnessed the incident came forward, nervously at first, but then with growing confidence. She admitted she never felt uncomfortable with Earl. It was Tom's decision alone. This revelation cracked the defense wide open. The board had to admit there was a problem bigger than one man's actions. The diner promised new training for staff, an apology to Earl, and a commitment to better community relations. But Earl knew better than to trust promises alone. What mattered was the message sent to everyone watching. Discrimination will not go unchallenged. As Earl left the hearing, the community surrounded him with cheers and hugs. He looked up at the sky and felt a quiet peace. Not victory, not yet, but a step forward. His fight had ignited a conversation that could not be silenced. Final words. Earl's story is not just about one diner or one man's judgment. It's about the system that allows these moments to happen and the courage it takes to stand against it. For every Earl out there, the fight for dignity continues.